Okay, stop with the Charlie.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It's Doomcast number 56.
Yep. Sorry.
We've made it. Charlie McGrath and I, Doug Owen, are your host. The website, Doomcast.com, has everything that you need to be part of the Doom Nation. You can get swag at the blacklistednation.com/gear shop for Doomcast. There's lots of other cool stuff there. And, well, without further ado, your host, Charlie McGrath. What's up, brother?
Your host. I'm your co-host. I'm your protege. I'm your sidekick.
My protege. Sidekick. Come on. Did we lose Charlie? Did I blow up the machine here? Did he unplug it? You were right there. What happened, Charlie? Did you hit the mute button? Did you unplug it? All right, the call's gone. He's calling back. Let's see.
Yeah, can you hear me, Owen?
I can hear you now.
Yeah, I don't know what. It did this to me, this newfangled microphone that you made me buy.
I didn't make you buy that one. I told you to buy the Yeti. You did not buy the Yeti. You went
I can't
to
afford the Yeti. I went
for
the Snowball. I went for the Snowball.
Well,
it was half the price.
I mean, come on. It's called Snowball. What do you think?
It's the same company. Great reviews. I mean, I read, there was 1,200 reviews on it, and only 3 were negative. So I think the sound quality, I've done a couple videos with it, and it is really, really good. But, Doug, it gives me this signal, this default sound. It did this to me in my program last hour. And then you can't hear me. I can still hear you. I could hear you talking. Did we lose Charlie? Did we lose Charlie? But you couldn't hear me. So I don't know.
It's USB, right?
Yeah, it's USB. So I don't know if I'm hitting something on the USB cable, or if it's my laptop that it's plugged into, or what the deal is. But it doesn't do it a lot. I only did it once the last hour, and hopefully it doesn't do it again here. But
hopefully you can flop something around and maybe identify it. It might be something with your, the USB driver or something. The kind of things that we have to do to make the Doomcast happen. The kind of things that we work through.
Exactly.
Rolling with the punches. That's the takeaway.
You were hanging out with me the last hour in my chat room there a little bit.
I was. Yeah.
Yeah. I told you I'm in a dark place today, and I kind of am. And you heard a little bit of it there. What'd you think?
I wasn't listening to the show. I was only interacting. I was getting everything going. So
I see.
Yeah, so I got the third-person impression of what the people in the chat room...
Via the chatters?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They seem doomy.
Well, you know chatters, and I love the regulars in there, and I thought about just shutting the room down because, frankly, Doug Owen, chat rooms to me... I mean, I've had chat rooms where there's 100 people a night.
Right.
And they drive me crazy, to be honest with you, especially hosting.
Why?
I don't know, because it's inevitable that you're going to need. Well, I do know. I shouldn't say I don't know. I do know, because it's inevitable you're going to need a monitor, and you're going to have to enforce some rules, because if you don't, it's going to get out of hand, and you're going to get a bunch of trolls.
You're not an anarcho-capitalist, obviously.
Well,
shouldn't it be wild? Shouldn't it be free speech, letting people? But that's the thing, is that it's funny that when you just let them go, then it becomes almost because there's just so many people that are filled with hate and contempt or just trolls, that it makes it, you have free speech, but it's just not a place you want to be. So not that I'm condoning censoring people's speech. I think that,
but if you don't, you're exactly right. If you don't get a monitor in there, and I had at one point, I had 4 or 5 monitors in there, then you will get the most rank, most disgusting, most ignorant comments that you can possibly imagine. And I could care less. You could say whatever you wanted to say about me, I wouldn't respond. I wouldn't even give you the time of day, because I think that is exactly what a lot of trolls are after. But if you're trying to run a chat room and you're trying to do it in a way that it becomes part of the program that you're doing, then you need to have that kind of authoritarian point of view. And there was times there where I was really, considering that to be the third guest, or the second guest rather, the third person, which is the chat room, which I would try to pull comments and questions out. And give it to my guest or respond to it myself. But it is so taxing, and it is so time consuming. And what sucks about that is there's a lot of good people that show up every single night to get in that chat room and talk with so it's a handful.
I went there.
Destroy it. Yeah.
Yeah. No. Here's the thing: you just have to have reasonable expectations. Anybody using a chat room has to have, a grown-up filter. Yeah, and that's something that you get if you're easily offended. Chat rooms are not the place for you. And
if you're a host that's trying to use it for your second guess, then it's a pipe dream, because
that's why I use the text line or some of the other things that I've found to be a little bit more effective, or Twitter, because at least you're creating some content and it's easy to go through there, and people have to go out of their way. You don't have as many, I guess, live trolls. Go ahead.
Can I do something before we get rolling on whatever we're going to talk about? I want to thank the people that have donated, who we didn't get to last week because I was having computer issues and I couldn't pull up my account to find out who to thank. And so I'm going to start from the most recent to back to the 16th. It won't take long because there's only 4 of them, but we greatly appreciate the 4 we have. In fact, this lovely blue Snowball microphone that you're hearing me talk on now, that Doug and Craig both claim is a quantum leap forward in my audio quality, was absolutely paid for by the donations into Doomcast. So Michael G. just yesterday donated $50 to the program. Stancil L. on the 18th donated $20 to the program. Dan K. on the 17th donated $50, and Robert B. on the 16th donated $20. Now, Dan K. and Robert B., if you were waiting to hear your name last week, it was a technical issue that kept us from saying it.
You know what we should do I hate to interrupt. We have to do it by the state or something.
No, you don't.
Because then I know where these people are at. And I'm wondering, are they in South Dakota? Are they in Europe?
Yeah, and that's been you've always done that, and I didn't done this was right down their state, but I can probably find that for us.
I'm always curious where the geographic locations.
I think they were all locals, as in America.
America.
And Doug, you said that you don't like to interrupt.
I don't.
And yeah, well, you know what? Here's the deal. Yeah, you do.
Sometimes.
And, okay. And it's a proven fact.
It's a proven fact, people. Fact.
And I love you. Don't. I love it when you interrupt me because it gives me a break. Let's see. And those of you who think that Doug does interrupt, and I know you've got a few comments in the past. Listen, if you were in a conversation with me, Charlie McGrath, then you would quickly realize that Doug, and I'm sure you do. You've never said this to me. I'm just going to assume that I will talk ad nauseum, and sometimes if you want to say something, you just got to jump in and say it. Would you agree with that?
I'd say that you're a monologuist. You're somebody that has done a lot of public speaking.
I believe in one girlfriend. You're absolutely right. I'm a monologamist.
Yeah, you've done a lot of sales pitches, so you're used to standing in front of people. You're used to public speaking. You did that probably in college. I just assume so.
Yeah,
I think the thing
I do
is
that for a living now. I travel around the world actually, and I sell stuff, and so I'm used to talking to people who are considered to be influential in their business, and if you want to get a message across and you have 2 minutes to do it, then you talk and you don't shut up, and you don't let anybody else get a word in edgewise because you're trying to make a point to the point of being polite about it.
Sure.
Let me give you this. Here we go. We got Michael G. Now I'm going to read this. I'm glad you made me do this, Doug, because this is important.
Yeah, there's notes in there and stuff.
Yeah, there's notes. Michael, did he send you something too?
No, but people put notes in there. I've got a few.
Michael G says to me, this is going to make me cry here. I may be broke, but not broken. Thanks for Doomcast. For the Doomcast fix each week. I appreciate your efforts and love the show. That was from Michael G, who donated $50, even though he's broke, and he's from Paw, Illinois. Paw, P-A-W-P-A-W. Illinois.
And he's donated in the past, so he's one of the elite. And thank you for your generous donation.
It's going to make me cry.
I mean, people invest a lot of money in things that bring them no information and very little entertainment. So it's a testament to the show and all of the other people that really do contribute.
This is so encouraging. Stancil L, who donated $20. on the 18th, wrote a note. God, I'm glad you made me do this. Guys, I have been listening since Doomcast #1. Heard them all, start to finish, and it's my favorite. It's my favorite show. Keep it up. And he put a name down there, but I'm not going to say it because I don't know if he wants me to make it public or not. It sounds like a chat room name. I'm going to say it.
If it's a handle, then
it's a handle. Yeah. Swamp Stalker. I like it. He gave us a ringing endorsement, verbally and financially, so I greatly appreciate that. Let me jump to Dan K. Oh, did I give where he was from?
No. In the swamp? No.
I bet it's the South because he's swampy.
Yeah, maybe.
It's in Salidal, Louisiana. Damn right he's a swamp stalker. He's in Louisiana. Let me see it.
That makes sense.
I've been to New Orleans.
Nolens, Charlie McGrath.
Gorgeous town. Gorgeous, filthy town. In fact, I went down there. Well, I went down there shortly. I say filthy because we went to one of the wards that was affected by Katrina the year after that. And I went down there for a business meeting, and one of the corporate bigwigs of the company we were down that hosted it decided it would be a cool thing for all the people that attended to spend a day with Habitat for Humanity rebuilding some of the swamped out houses in, I think it was the 9th Ward or Plaquemine Parish or somewhere that was, in the news as being completely devastated. And so we spent a day down there, and I thought to myself, this is so corporate cheese right here. But when we got down there and we saw it was unbelievable because, New Orleans looked like New Orleans. But when we went down to this region and just saw the devastation, it was really great spending a day down there trying to help rebuild, even if it was a corporate feel-good moment about building, team spirit and all that kind of thing. But, so Louisiana, I've been there. So I try to see if I've been to the places where we're receiving these donations from. And Illinois, I've been to Illinois numerous times. That's where I haven't been to Papa, Illinois, but that's where Michael G., his donation came from. I know I'm rambling on here, so let me get to the next one that Doug's making.
The home of Blagojevich.
Yeah, Blagojevich. As I promised, a donation from my favorite news team. That's us, Doug.
Really?
I appreciate you endlessly. Amazing energy you guys put in it. Charlie, I share your worries and perspective on Ukraine. I'm going to ad-lib this. It's because you're smart and you understand what's coming. And now, I don't know if Doug's going to eat crow tonight or not, but there's Russian troops inside of Ukraine.
Breaking news, Russian troops inside of Ukraine. Not a
that was so deep. So much energy. Wait a minute. Doug, there's something for you here too, Doug.
Oh, really?
Blacklisted is also an amazing resource. Thank you so much. Danish Doomer dude Dan. And that's Dan K., and I'm assuming he's in Denmark. And yes, he is. Copenhagen, Denmark. And, thank you very much, Dan. That's greatly appreciated. And I appreciate the kind words. I appreciate the kind words for myself and for Doug and his site. And I will say this, we don't promote our sites very much except the beginning and the end, maybe. But Blacklisted News is amazing. And I don't know how. I mean, I put up, I have Bonnie gives me the numbers once in a while. Maybe 10,000 page visits a day, which translates into maybe 3,000 to 5,000 visits a day. And I put up a couple videos, always my commentary videos, maybe some of the programs from Wide Awake News Radio with Gary Hendershot. So there's some original content in there, but there's also aggregated news and maybe 20, 30 headlines a day. And Doug Owen, I don't know how the hell many you put up, 100 a day. I don't even know how you do it. I don't know
not that many. No.
It feels like it. It seems like every time I go back there, which is multiple times a day, you got something new posted. So I don't know. You're either screwing the man that you're working for because you're spending a lot of time updating your site, or you're just so dedicated that at lunch break that's what you're doing, updating Blacklisted News.
Usually that's the latter. That's the deal. Just using breaks, things like that. And I have a pretty good system. It's all about time management. And if you update 4 to 5 to 6 times a day, which I do, which isn't a big deal because I'm around technology, computers, terminals all the time.
Big deal to me. It's a big deal to me.
Well, and there's other people that write exclusive content and are able to post as well. So there's other people. It's not just me. I'm just the
honest to God. I spend the first thing I do when I wake up is I start aggregating news, and I'll send the things that I wanted posted, and I probably spend minimum of an hour and a half every single morning to update what I do at Wide Awake News. And so when I look at yours, I think, he's got to be spending 5 hours a day at least.
I spend a lot of time. I don't know about 5 hours, but I spend probably 3.
Yeah, I believe it. I believe more than that, but you have a system better than I do, apparently. Last one, Robert B., $20 on the 16th. Now, we should have announced this one as well as Dan K's last week. We didn't. But Robert B. is from Romeville, Illinois, another Illinoisan. Blagojevich is helping our cause here at Doomcast, no doubt about it. And he gave us $20 on the 16th, and we want to thank you very much. No comment with that one, just other than it was for Wide Awake News /Doomcast. So, and any donations, if you are giving it a blacklisted news, we're gonna talk about it on the air here. If you're giving it a Wide Awake News, we're gonna talk about it on the air. If you're giving it Doomcast.com, we're gonna talk about it and mention your name on the air. That's correct, right, Doug?
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. I mean, unless we just had so much support that we'd actually have to break the segment down. I mean, it has been pretty lengthy today, but we're doing some discovery and kind of we're always using the show to do things. I think some of the secretarial work, unfortunately, we do here. People get irritated by it, and some shows are going to be better than others. Some are going to be more succinct, have more analysis. Some of them are going to be more bloodletting, personal anecdotes.
What's weird is some of the ones that I think are dogs. And that's pretty rare. I mean, it's always based on personal opinion of how and I'm sure you feel the same way, how you did during that program or during that podcast. You end the program and you think, that sucked. And then you find out, you get the most comments or the most positive response on of the last 10. So it's hard to tell what's going to be. I know a lot of people don't like us doing housekeeping for Doomcast here, and there's other people who just like to hear you and me banter back and forth regardless of what the topic is.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so I agree. Yeah, it's hard to fit the bill. A Navy cook once told me, he said, Doug, if I had steak and lobster and I gave it to everybody, somebody'd be upset with it. Somebody'd say, this isn't great, I don't like lobster. People would complain, so you're only going to be able to, but it would still impress people. That was just a piss poor excuse. Because we're eating mac and cheese again. That was the deal, You're eating crap, but even if I fed you lobster, which we never would, but you wouldn't like it anyway, so that's how I justify the slop and the grade D beef we feed you.
I'm going to be honest, 4,000 plus downloads a week in different formats, and the complaints are very, very, very minor and very few. The adoration is far outweighing that. So, I know this is your
we got two more. Bitcoin. Yeah. We got $10 in Bitcoin from. Yeah, we got Bitcoin. It says from an part of that is being anonymous, so we won't put out the name. But the note said, "Keep up the good work. It keeps me sane knowing that there are a couple people out there who give a damn, and we appreciate that." And a longtime donor. I just had it in front of me here. There it is.
Do you know where Anonymous is from?
No, it's anonymous.
Okay. All right.
Somewhere in the digital world out there.
All right.
Ivana and Lila gave us $50 for the analysis. Always impressed with your analysis, and this is to me, but I'm sure that they probably send, they usually do the split with us. Right. So this is for the succinct humor, somewhat. Sometimes.
Ivana and Alila, we've heard these names before.
Yeah, absolutely, all the time. From London, the UK. So across the pond as well.
Is Ivana and Lila, guys? If you want us to get more information on you premium, I guess we call them premium followers because they're constantly, Sarah and Lincoln always. Monthly, and there's others who are monthly contributors to the program. If you want to be known a little bit more, let us know, and if you got some backstory you want to give,
if you support us, you'll rent our headspace.
That's right, and we'll spill the guts on your lives right here on Doomcast, and thousands of people will hear it every episode. So if you want,
just like me eating crow, maybe,
yeah, maybe. Russians are in Ukraine. Paratroopers have been caught.
According to who? According to NATO? According to those blobs? Have you seen these blobs? They're like, look at sources, Doug. Your sources. Who are your sources? The television? I don't buy that. No, but I mean, it's a great question. I mean, I'm sorry to interrupt you there. Finish out the seg. Oh, no, Charlie. Would you get so excited about me eating crow that you kicked the cable out of the...
I jumped around and I bumped the mic. And can you hear me now?
Doug Owen. Take that.
You got me now?
Yeah, I got you. Yeah.
All right. So anyway, it must be. It came with an absolutely outstanding USB connection, but I must be bumping it or something, and it gives me a default doot sound, and then
could be the USB port might be loose if it's one that you've used a lot on that laptop. I've had problems with a Dell that I'm dealing with.
Does it do the same thing? Does it do the
the
default sound and then you're offline?
Yeah, it shorts out like if you have a mouse or anything, and then it just kills the voltage to the USB port. And it's
an older laptop, but it's dedicated 100%. The only thing that it does is my YouTube videos and this program and rinse. So there's, I have a newer one. Maybe I should try to do the program with. But let's get back to something important, which is Russians in Ukraine.
Allegedly. Ostensibly.
Well, I got to agree with you. I can't disagree that the alleged shouldn't be put in front of that, because I did a video last night on the Rasmussen, who is the head of NATO. Right, he's the Secretary General of NATO. How he's going to be working in Cardiff this week, Cardiff, Wales, to try to convince the 28-nation bloc that makes up NATO to overcome any doubts on putting bases closer and closer to Russia. And what's ironic is, as I was making this video, talking about the encroachment of NATO further and further east, and what's happening inside of Ukraine with the EU deal, what's happening inside of Ukraine with Monsanto, what's happening inside of Ukraine with Joe Biden's son and fracking and mining. As I'm doing this video and as it's published, I go over and check out a few news sources and find out that now, just last night after this video posted, we're to believe that Russia, Moscow, is attacking, what was it, the Citibank or U.S. Bank, one of the two big to fails. That Russia is being blamed for hackers getting into their system and stealing a bunch of information. So there's no doubt, Doug Owen, that there's an all-out effort to demonize any actions of Russia. So, it has been reported, multiple sources that Russian troops are in Ukraine, opening up another front. But is it propaganda? To be honest with you, I don't know. I don't know what the truth is until I see it on Vice News or somebody flies me over there to check it out for myself. I have a hard time believing it.
Yeah, and I don't even know if I'd believe it then. But just because of the past indiscretions with the truth or the reality on the ground that Vice has had over the past, I don't know, since the incursion, since the takeover of Crimea, the what do they call it? The
Crimean Peninsula?
Well, but when they took it back, annexation of Crimea. Since that point, it's just like, it's been anti-Russian. I don't know where I'm at with this. I mean, I know that there's some interesting things happening on the border. Putin just recently called on the Ukrainian militia, people that are pro-Russian separatists, to use that buzzword, militia types, to let blocked Kyiv troops to cross into Russia. So you have some troops that are locked down, and the only way that they can get out of where they're currently positioned is to go back through Russia. What's... Go ahead.
I wonder what happens then. I mean, they're just taken out of the game because they're traveling. If their Kiev troops cut off, they want to be going west to regroup, and Putin's letting them come east, presumably to take them out of the fight.
Right.
Look, I'm not naive, right? And I know you're not either, Doug. Russia has every bit as I believe as many troops as being reported, maybe even more, flooding into Ukraine, and certainly support for these rebels that are fighting alongside probably Russian fighters. So the question isn't, are they doing it? What stuns me,
and let's put it in context. We know that the United States is doing this as well.
Yeah,
so
that's my point. And what stuns me is the shock value that our media is trying to present out of that. Sure. And I said that in the video last night. I'm like, really? Do you really want to? You turn on the headlines here in the U.S. and you're hearing about how Putin's the aggressor. Putin is destabilizing Eastern Europe. Putin is on the march. Russia's on the march. We need to put bases closer to the Russian border. We need to be on guard. Cold War number 2.0. And you got to ask yourself, are you believing this crap? Because if you look around the world now and you ask yourself, who is the aggressor on the world stage? Who is the one destabilizing around this world? Who's the one causing mass death, mass casualties, mass poverty? And you know what? It's not Russia. I'm sorry, America. It's not Russia. I'm sorry, England. If you're buying the hype in the West that suddenly Russia's going to turn this back into the Soviet Union and we're going back into the Cold War, it's not about what Russia's doing. It's about what we're doing. Look at the carnage that's being caused by the actions of the West. And, for some people, Doug, that's just a tough pill to swallow, to believe that they could be being lied to. We're not truly spreading freedom and democracy around this world, but something completely different. But all you need to do is look at who the benefactors are of the carnage inside of Ukraine, namely Joe Biden's son, namely Monsanto. And you realize that, this is just another country to be dealt with, another economic hit team in there going in to evaporate sovereignty and rob natural resources, or at least profit from natural resources.
Well, yeah, I mean, the financialization of war, we've talked about it over and over again, and how this is, you mentioned it with Joe Biden's son or his nephew, the cronyism, the right. Opportunists and the hawks that come in, and they're really the financial public-private partnerships that are created to make this thing stick. And what the U.S. is able to do with this is to create more of a unification for the current political body that's already instituting a mass draft. Almost all capable men are being compulsory pushed into military service. And that's a hard pill to swallow. So regardless of really what's happening in Russia, because, I mean, at this point, think about this. I mean, there's over 1 million people that have now left, that have fled Ukraine into Russia. So what's left there, who knows? But the sad reality is that this is going to destroy the Ukraine. It's separating it. And it's really this kind of, I don't know, Palestinian solution, when the Israelis initially back in 1947 created alongside the U.S., created the state of Israel. One of their tactics was to just shell the citizenry, to torture and to terrorize the populace to make them leave. And so that's what's happened. And, just think about this. If you're a Russian near the border, just to have this huge mass influx, would you feel different if it was Canada? I mean, that's the only kind of situation I could see. Like, just imagine 1 million Canadians pouring over the border. Yeah. I wonder how xenophobic people would be. I try to imagine what the situation would be like. But ultimately, I mean, the U.S. has been using this pretty convincingly. I mean, with the U.S. media have been able to really push Putin. And so I think a lot of people are debating as to whether this is hurting the U.S. dollar, if this is isolating the United States and the West, or if this is empowering the West and actually creating this economic recovery for the U.S. So. Yeah.
Well, I think it gives us somewhere to pivot off of, the Middle East, North Africa, and back onto Europe. I mean, that is the reason for this summit inside of Cardiff, Wales, and the Rasmussen, the head of the NATO, working so hard to convince these other nations that it's time to get military forces, boots on the ground.
The European, need a European military. That's something that people have feared for years.
Yeah, Poland, Lithuania, Estonia, Latvia, they're all in the crosshairs to have an increased military presence there, and it's all because of Russia, and at least being blamed on Russia and what they're doing. Now, Doug, I look at this from Russia's perspective. You know, the aforementioned nations, Poland, Lithuania, Estonia, Latvia, you know, these nations, these bordering nations of Russia that have all turned to the West, and you see this encroachment of the West, especially financial special interest encroaching closer and closer to their border. You know what? I could see why Putin would be shoveling military weaponry into Ukraine, because it's a matter of self-preservation, probably in the eyes of a lot of Russian people.
Well, I think it's that. It's about this, ever expanding U.S. presence along the periphery, but I think it's also a way to create more relevance and to create to be able to. I don't know if they're winning or losing in creating, the BRICS and the new investment banks and how effective that would be, because Europe would pay and does pay a real premier price for gas and oil energy exports from Russia, whereas with China, not so much. And then they're going to be dealing in the yuan. So
that's new too. That the exchange of energy in other than U.S. dollar, that has been on the table and been talked about for a long time. And it's moving forward. Even Angela Merkel talked about the United States can't solve the world's problems anymore. It's not going to stop them from trying. It's not going to stop them from trying to maintain the current model, the current order as it is now. And it really doesn't matter, Doug, what's going on in Ukraine. It's going to be up to independent media. And I'm talking, you as the listener of Doomcast to decipher information and put it through the filter of common sense, regardless if it's from Al Jazeera, RT, Vice News, this program, Doug's podcast, my radio program. It's a lot of common sense, and it's a lot of taking what you hear with a grain of salt and doing some work on your own to understand what the situation is on the ground inside of Ukraine and what it means to you in the West. A lot of people still could give a crap. They don't care. They don't care what's going on. Who cares? Ukraine? Big deal. But the reality of it is that this absolutely could turn into something a lot more violent and a lot more meaningful in really, really short order. This winter is going to be interesting in Europe, Ukraine, Russia. It's going to be very interesting because there's a lot of resources that are relied upon that come from Russia through Ukraine.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's going to be very hard. It's going to be very rough, and I'm sure you're going to see a lot of probably U.S. dollars and more IMF intervention. I mean, that's the deal on the table right now. The IMF's looking at this big bailout, but things aren't necessarily hunky-dory in Europe. You have the Le Pen party in France, and they, alongside Germany...
Vive Le Pen! Sorry.
They're the ones that are holding the European Union together. They are right. the pillars, the architects of the European Union. And Le Pen's already said that they are bailing out. They are going to exit the euro. So there's going to be a euro crash. And at some point, the IMF and the SDR is what people I was listening to this really compelling. I've got some clips from it, but I don't know, where we're at with time. Are we 8:36 in? Yeah, from Ambrose Evans-Pritchard, who's somebody that is the I think authoritative voice of the Telegraph and somebody who gets the inside ticket to Jackson Hole, to the World Economic Forum, to maybe even the Bilderberg Group. I don't want to call him a Bilderberger, but talking about the systemic problems and will this lead to a crash? Oddly enough, whether or not, why do people buy gold? Why is China buying so much gold? Why is Russia buying so much gold? And the interesting takeaway from all of this is that people buy gold, in his mind, when there's uncertainty about the ethics and the stability of your government. And it's true, because I look at most of the people that buy gold, even in the United States, and it's because they fear what may be coming around the corner, and they don't trust their government necessarily. And I'm like, well, this guy does see that. But ultimately, that the solution for the euro, that there would be a debt jubilee. You want to hear some of this?
Yeah, I do. Please do.
Okay.
Sorry if the new microphone is picking up me sneezing. But,
I thought you were over there hitting the inhaler. I was hoping.
No, it's me sneezing. I've got issues going on here, so I apologize for that.
Oh no, I'm sorry for that. Okay. Here you go. Here's a good question. Well, is the system fixed? In 2007, did the system get fixed? Did we have a correction that's happened yet? And of course, I already know what you think about that, Charlie, but we'll get Ambrose Evans-Pritchard's take.
Ambrose, have we anything solved related?
Oh, by the way, this guy's German, and so I love the way he has broken English, but he does a good interview. Does a better interview than me, and he doesn't really speak English all that well.
Okay, Doug, let's hear it. Let's hear the interview.
Root causes of the financial crisis 2007-2008.
Are they fixed?
No, we're still arguing about it. Nothing's been resolved. We're no closer to any general understanding of it. The Bank for International Settlements says it's caused by excessively low interest rates for the last 15, 20 years. The central banks are to blame, and we're doing it again. The monetarists say it was caused totally unnecessarily in 2008 because the Federal Reserve let the money supply collapse, and it could have been avoided. You've got the view of kinds of Keynesians that it's caused by the structure of globalization in the world, excess savings in Asia, China saving too much, not spending enough, all these structural issues.
Okay, so my question is, what do you think? I think it was cronyism. I mean, the system, I think, is definitely broke because you have to lend money into existence. I mean, that, people have to get past the philosophical, creation of money to even kind of have an opinion on whether it's good or bad. But if you can get past that, we can have this discussion as to, do you think it was just misallocation of wealth, mishandling of the crash, not, nationalizing the debts to keep the country stable while taking out the too big to fails? What would you have done if you were in that position, or what do you consider the root problem that could have been fixed at that time?
Well, a great question, Doug Owen. And what would I have done at the time? If you were asking me if I was in charge and I could have had my wishes carried through in 2000.
You're the head of the Treasury. You're Hank Paulson. Yeah. You have your finger on the trigger.
I would have went the way of Iceland, and I would have said, I'm sorry, banks, you gambled, you lost. I realize that you are massively huge, and it's going to be a half a decade of suffering trying to regain some semblance of growth in our economy. But time would show that is exactly what would have happened if we would have got rid of the corruption, got rid of the crony capitalism, got rid of the completely perverse financial system that we have now that puts the burden of failure on the people of the country. And it doesn't matter if you're talking the United States or anywhere else, basically other than Iceland in the West. If you have a government that is willing to take the failure, pretend that it doesn't exist by pushing it down the road so that a decade later we can truly all feel this pain together, well, that's exactly what we saw occur. And if that does occur and you realize that, you have to ask yourself why. It's because...
Okay, so that is the libertarian perspective. You have to let the thing crash, and people have to feel the brunt. They have to suffer to understand the repercussions of letting...
I don't think that people would suffer any more. I honestly
let's perfect example. I've got a retirement account at AIG. They've got $40,000 or something that has been invested by the people that take my money and then reinvest it, that I really have not much control over. And it's just one of these 401ks that you rolled over and over from company to company. Point being, I would have lost all that money. It probably wouldn't have affected me because I'm still of working age. I could still go out there and bust my ass, make.
So the alternative is we're going instead of.
So do you think that the government should have nationalized that and continued those payments out?
We did. Listen, don't make any mistake about it. We did nationalize these institutions. We just are not calling them nationalized. We nationalize their failure and continue to privatize the profit. And there's a lot of people that are just like you, myself included, that have money sitting in 401ks they're trumpeting the success of Ben Bernanke.
They love the QE. They love the stimulus.
Sure, absolutely, because they saw that, because they had a 9/11 occur financially. And they saw 50% of their portfolio get eviscerated. So they would have done anything. They'd have bent over and taken anything in order to reestablish their wealth. And a lot of them are sitting there now, right back where they were in 2008, 2009, and really, really grateful for it. But that doesn't
No. What I mean by nationalize is the government takes over the bank. The bank's insolvent. It's going to create a crisis. Government... I mean, if there's anything that they could do, it would probably be to, protect private.
The government is now giving money away that we don't have to private banks. We can create the money on our own. There's nothing that prevents this government from capturing 401ks or retirement programs and saying, you are going to get every penny that you had into this thing. We are going to let this bank dissolve, and we're going to have a truly monetary system that is representative of the people of the country.
Could it be like Venezuela, where we all have to biometrically scan to get groceries or something cool like that, where they put a mark on our head and then you can go get your
what the hell's wrong with you, Owen?
Your credits at the government store?
No. But you're not going to have debt issued on every. I mean, if we're not, the key would be not having debt issued on every single piece of currency that is put into
Slave
existence.
Mart gift card? No.
Yeah, I'm done talking to you. I'm done talking to you. But my point is this, Doug. Look, you're asking me. You were critiquing this interview,
sure,
right? And he's talking about nothing has been fixed. Well, that's 1,000% correct. Nothing has been fixed. In fact, it's far, far worse because the too big to fails are fewer in number now, but more powerful than ever before. And we have a nation of 310 million people that truly believe that the only salvation for our country, for our economy, is a Federal Reserve and a bunch of private banks that dictate and govern what's going to happen next in our country. And look, we're fighting. Look, we're being
but
asked.
I don't see that as. I mean, the Federal Reserve gets a lot of blame, but it's the politicians that borrow money from the Federal Reserve. It's really the Congress and the Senate that could actually take that power away or create money. I mean, that is the authority of the Treasury. They could actually do that. There's a lot of mechanisms to print money. So I'm with you and Bill Still and everyone else that says, why are we lending money into existence by a private board?
Do you hear that by anybody other than Ron Paul? I mean, have you ever heard what you're just saying, that Congress has the ability, Congress has the mandate, in fact, and the only mandate.
No, because it's absurd. It's crazy.
Yeah. And who supports that point of view? Not only everybody but Ron Paul in Washington. Ron Paul in Washington, D.C., even though he's not in D.C. anymore, but so does our establishment media. They would they drag out the Peter Schiffs on occasion or Gerald Celentes on occasion just so they can laugh at them, and then move on to how the market's doing or what Yellen is her next plan is in saving and continuing this exponential growth in markets. It isn't about Congress that can. It's about Congress that has been completely neutered, and this abortion called the Federal Reserve that is beyond reproach, beyond power, beyond even scrutiny. There's no audit of the Federal Reserve other than pencils and pens and chairs. We don't know, and we have no authority as the way the Federal Reserve Act is written. We have no authority to do anything other than to accept the brilliance of whoever the board deems is the next ruler of the Federal Reserve. So it truly
I still think that my point goes right back to, and we can't get past this, that the Federal Reserve is a private institution. Government is not in some contract. It's not some grand conspiracy that they have to 100-year contract with the Federal Reserve. I've looked into that. I've gone through a ton of research, and there's nothing that says that the Federal Reserve could not get paid off, and the government couldn't just decide to create their own U.S. slave mart wampum. At any point, that could happen, and they could nationalize a lot of the industries. Not that I'm for that. I think that I veer towards having to let some institutions fail. And but that's the burden of having the globe. That's what these globalists say. Well, that's the burden of having the world's reserve currency. You have a global responsibility to maintain and manage and control this currency. Maybe not always in the best interest of Americans, even in not in the best interest of the United States of America, because we have this burden. And at some point, that might change. But I think that's why people like Ambrose here are saying that the only solution, and this is kind of the dire aspect of it, because he's a mainstream, academic, that's a voice for a lot of the very the powers of the world, the global elite. He's that guy, and he said, well, the only thing that's going to happen is a debt jubilee. We're going to have some kind of debt jubilee. And that basically, here we go. I think this is the part where you asked about the crash of China.
2007, 2008?
I wouldn't use that word, but we're stuck in some kind of bad equilibrium.
So he asked if there's going to be another crash. I'm sorry, I didn't.
Right.
So he says,
and that's a record for both. So we go into the next downturn.
He'll get to it.
Do you think it is then avoidable to have a crash? A real crash compared to 2007, 2008?
I wouldn't use that word, but we're stuck in some kind of bad equilibrium. We don't know how to get out of it. If the central banks start raising rates and tightening, it will very quickly trigger a crisis. So they're trapped, and they have to move with extreme care. And I don't quite know how we're going to deal with this, but it may ultimately require some form of debt jubilee down the road. A lot of people are going to lose a lot of money, but that's not necessarily that damaging for the economy.
Yeah, because the economy is the future, and the retirees, the savers, they are the past, and so they're not producing in the economy, and so when economists look at them, they don't count. It's just like you and I and a lot of people out there, our opinions don't matter to the government. We broke that down last week on the show, why your opinion, and unfortunately, even this podcast, though we are crusaders for truth, justice, and the American way, may be somewhat ineffectual. I know that kind of deflates the situation, but I mean, you listen to this guy. I mean, he's like, I got a calculator. We can't get out of this crap. We're stuck in the Janet Yellen era of limbo. Do we print? Don't we print? Let's ease. Okay, everything sucks. We don't have free money. Okay, now we're gonna, even in Europe, now we're gonna charge you to save your money because there's just so much of it that we've given to all these people for free. Not you or me, but
even this week, there was an article that came out, and I don't have it in front of me, so I'm going to paraphrase here. But it's the European Central Bank that is contemplating, or central banks throughout Europe, I should say, contemplating directly giving money to the people. I mean, that's where it's come to now. That it is so stagnant. And the efforts that have happened with lowering interest rates to nothing and bailing out these institutions hasn't translated into new and better jobs, more wages, and more expenditure. It's just it's been turned into something where the too big institutions can offload their debt and maximize their profits. And yes, the stock market's going up, but the reality is that Main Street isn't feeling the benefit of these extraordinary actions that have been taken since 2008. And so now, and Zero Hedge did a great job of putting this out there. The talk is, okay, well, I guess since giving the money to the too bigs didn't help, we're going to directly give it to individuals and try to stimulate growth that way. I mean, Doug, it is grasping at straws at this point, and it's not a matter of when the next crisis or if the next crisis comes, but it's when and how severe it's going to be. The whole notion of jubilee. I actually support this notion as long as the criminal element that brought the world to the condition it's in now through speculation and domination of governments through their financial abilities are done away with. I'm absolutely for a fresh start.
Me too. It's interesting because we have the IMF. We have Christine Lagarde now. Yeah, she's embroiled. She's getting and something's happening in France. I guess it's the little pins and the people that are going after the euro. I mean, because we had the row with Sarkozy, and this is a real arrest. I mean, this isn't bullcrap. They actually go into her house. They've actually like searched her stuff. It's not like a Rick Perry indictment. It's actually, the real deal. And the same thing happened to Dominique Strauss-Kahn. Okay,
I was just going to say Strauss-Kahn, where he's picked up in New York for rape or whatever.
Yeah, a little eyes wide shut party with the maid that went wrong, or maybe it went way right. I'm not sure exactly what happened there. It's kind of hard to, but from most of the people that have spoke about Dominique Strauss-Kahn, they've said that he's a real stand-up guy. Never met him, I don't know, but I don't know if you noticed this, but they had they basically dismantled the government. Francis Hollande, he dismantled the government, and basically it's just a rearranging of chairs. It's one of these French things. But during this, he replaced the leftist economic minister with a... Wait, where's my bell? I've got a bell around here.
I'll be the bell. Can I be the bell? Ding!
Oh, yeah. Here we go.
Yeah.
Okay, so with a Rothschild banker. And this Rothschild banker said that, the one thing that we should do is hollow out the economy and basically buy up all of the infrastructure, privatize it, and just toll the crap out of the people. Put together this game plan, and this is post-2008 to basically, and you can look into him here. I've got a link. It's France's president replaces economy minister with former Rothschild banker, and, he's going to socialize things. And that's one of the things that's so funny, I guess. Unless you're French.
I thought he was going to privatize. If he's going to socialize it.
Well, a socialist guy pulling for the privatization. So socialism is socialism for the rich. It's not socialism for the poor. It's not socialist. It's always a free market for you down there and us that have the boot above our necks.
That's right.
But anyway, so this is a guy. He specializes in privatizing, but a socialist president brings him on to run to be the economic minister. So, I mean, you're right. There's a 180 out approach, and if you think that he's a socialist, then why is he even hiring this guy? And I would bet you it's because he is one of the henchmen for the Rothschild banking dynasty.
That's right.
Just maybe.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. They're and these governments that our press and our politicians for years would have us believe are these socialist nations. Germany's even one of them. When I was in Germany, when I lived there, our press, our media would label them as a more socialist country where they, have nationalized healthcare and the government owned a lot of the infrastructure rather than private corporations. You can see the influence of the too big to fail institutions. And I know I go back to that over and over again, but there's not a problem in this world where you can't link these criminals to. So you are going to see more nationalism continue to blossom, not only in Europe, but in America, for that matter. You're going to see more anger and more violence, and you're going to see more civil unrest and disobedience, and you're going to see more crazy parties becoming more and more popular, and a lot of them are going to have a nationalist tinge to them.
Oh yeah,
and we don't have to, we don't have to pretend that this is something that could happen. It happened after the last Great Depression, and it's going to happen again. We are in the midst of the next Great Depression. We just don't believe it because we see Dow at 17,000 points. But that is the path the world is on, and Europe is the next tinderbox. The Middle East, North Africa, completely destabilized. Resources are accounted for, and there's no longer a need to convince us that the next big threat is coming out of a cave in Tora Bora. The next big threat is Putin and the East versus the establishment world order as it is now. So
Ebola, Boko Haram, those little girls that we never found. What else do we have to be afraid of in Africa? All the reasons that we need to take over Africa.
But
jihadists.
The big story has got to be Russia in going after a too big to fail through hacking. That will be the impetus. See, that is the way the world is now. It isn't about governments or people or individuals. It's about who's effing with the big banks. Because if they're effing with the big banks, they got to be brought down because it's going to affect the global economy. That is the news. So when you see stories coming on CNN about Russia going after these too big to fail institutions with hackers, true or not, that's the shot across the bow. They've
just recently, in the last few months, put together their own private DoD banking security deal. Here, I can find it, but it's very timely. Oh, well, we got to protect the banks. Cybersecurity. We need to have an offensive. Used to be defensive.
All banks, baby. It's all banks. Governments don't matter. Banks. That's all that matters. How's your 40,000 doing? You know what? Because if Citibank goes down, you're screwed. If Wells Fargo goes down, the whole world's coming to an end.
I know. That's why these guys just fall over dead at their desks. It's apparently a pretty hard job.
Well, Christine Lagarde is
when you're balancing billions of dollars, trillions of dollars. That's got to be a pain in the butt.
The economy, the
somebody told me I need to wake up. Doug, it's not xenophobic.
I don't think you need to wake up. I think that you're a very smart individual.
Yeah.
But I really do. I believe that completely. Anybody listening right now, Doug is smart. He's very sharp cookie, and his analysis is usually spot on. But the world is convinced that the job of economy building, the job of money, the job of the velocity of money is a private bank's job. And it's not. It's not. It's we, the people's job. We determine what money is. We should determine the value of money. We should determine, the kind of rates that are being paid on money. But we have no say in it. We are just plebes. We're just resources that are being handed to banks. And that's
not always. I mean, I believe that too. And to clarify, I just see some of the comments in the chat room there that it's not xenophobic to say that the Mexicans, and I don't even know how we got to the
We're talking Mexicans now. I love Mexicans. They're beautiful.
Well, I compared the Canadians when I guess making the reference to what it would be like to be invaded by Canadians, and I was saying that because it would be like being invaded by your own countrymen, people that speak the same language as you. That would be what it would be like in Russia to have 1 million people from Ukraine that are ethnic Russians that pretty much speak the same language. I mean, we might be a little different than Canadians, but not really.
Right. Come on, they're a state. Let's be honest.
I wouldn't know the difference. I couldn't look at somebody unless and say, "Are you Canadian? Are you Canadian?"
I traveled to Alberta. I traveled to Saskatchewan. I traveled to BC quite often for work several times a year. And I love Canadians. I love their attitude, and they're friendly to a fault. But that's America. Give me a break.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and if you look at what happened in Central America and what's happening there, and just to our south in Mexico, you can put a lot of the blame on our economic policies right back to bankers. CAFTA and NAFTA destroyed the economy, not to mention our drug war that has completely engendered and financialized and CIA. I mean, there's plenty of
not to mention Monsanto and subsidizing corn and putting a bunch of Mexican farmers out of work and not giving them any option other than to turn to a life of crime.
Yeah,
I mean, it goes on and on and on. I mean, policy has devastated large swaths of that nation.
Right.
A big nation, by the way, but 150 million, and they're not all flooding into our country. I mean, there's a very substantial population. The majority of the population in Mexico are very much happy to be Mexican and want nothing to do with the United States.
Isn't it funny? Rich Americans are trying to get out of here. Poor Mexicans or South Americans are trying to get in here. It's an ebb and flow. Look at Burger King. They're trying to buy Tom Hortons or whatever that is.
Vice versa. Burger King is done. They're done with America.
They're going to freaking Canada. They're expatriating. Yeah. What kind of crap is this?
Have you ever eaten at I think it's Jim, what is it, Hortons something? God, I've eaten there multiple times. Their donuts are unbelievably good. What is it? I'm going to look it up. Jimmy Horton.
Tim Hortons?
Timmy Horton. No, Timmy Ho. They call it up there. Timmy Ho's, I think.
Really? Is that the name of it? I saw the article. In more fast food politics, it was Chick-fil-A and the gay agenda. Now it's Burger King. I mean, McDonald's getting out of Obamacare. And these are manufacturing jobs. That's why it's a big deal. You talk about, smoke and mirrors. These are, according to our economic ministers, the sandwich artists out there and the burger flippers, that's a manufacturing job. Not to slight anybody that has done that job. I've done that job.
I've done that job.
Yeah. So, I'm not better than any of those people. I don't believe I'm better than you because I don't do what, harder labor or more manual labor. I've actually run a jackhammer, and that sucked, and it really did, boost me to want to get out of doing hard, heavy construction work. So, I've been there, done that, got a T-shirt, wouldn't want to do it again, and that's why I can easily support the Burger King boycott. And the thing is that it's about, well, they're getting over. And people are so outraged that this company gets over. They're only outraged because you're being raped by the government for upwards of 50 to 60% of your money. That's why I'm outraged. And then we see Burger King, we're like, these bastards, they're skipping out on this bill for the $6 trillion war, too.
And you know what? I don't blame them for wanting to get out of here. I mean, that's that hidden inflation on the price of their food. I mean, I don't know the last time you went to a Burger King and tried to pick up a meal for you and your wife and baby Doomer, but you're going to drop $30, no problem.
He loves the Whoppers. I give them to him.
I love Whoppers.
I puree them for him.
I love Whoppers way more than I love the old Big Mac, but I think it's interesting. Tim Hortons, and I've been to him several times when I visited Canada. 3,600 locations throughout Canada. 9,500 Canadians work there. Very ubiquitous inside of Canada. In fact, this is an interesting fact. Each Canadian citizen spends an average of $150 a year at they call it Timmy Ho's up there. And, Timmy Ho. And it's donuts, right? It's the number one fast food joint up there. But the only thing I've ever bought there is donuts. Great breakfast treats. And this merger of Burger King and them, I think, is gonna. This will proceed interestingly to see if this is going to be.
I want to see all those patriotic burger eaters out there, if they can really walk away from the juiciness of the Whopper, if they can actually, go to that next level and turn it away. Because you can't. Most of the Doomers aren't going to be able to boycott this. I'm not going to boycott it because I'm already boycotting it. I don't know when the last time.
I don't think they're leaving though. They're not going to close up Burger King here.
No, but people. I'm saying people will stop because they're patriots. They won't eat there anymore.
Whatever. That's crap. That's crap.
Meanwhile, they go to their local grocer.
Yeah.
And while you're at it.
They'll buy everything on Amazon because they can save a nickel. They'll,
take off your Chinese shirt before you worry about where that big
You are
Big
a
Mac's
patriot.
going.
If you're a patriot in this country, if you have a $40,000 401k and you support the raping of this nation and the stealing of the future in order to finance a bunch of too big to fail institutions that have destroyed our economy.
Wait, that's what I support. Wait, you're talking about me. I think
you're a patriot, Doug.
I think you're being.
I'm saying that the term for patriot has been turned into something that's completely and totally disgusting, in my humble opinion. Patriot would be, we're going to march on D.C. and we're going to shut down the Fed and we're going to take our government back and we're going to serve the people. That to me is a patriot. What we have now is patriot. Oh, I'm not eating French fries. I'm eating freedom fries because they don't want to join us in the Gulf War.
Yeah, like deep frying a piece of potato is somehow French. I mean, maybe it did come from somebody who was French, but it was probably an immigrant. I don't know. I'm not up on my French fry history.
Whatever the big boob gal on Fox News tell you to be a patriot about, that's what most Americans are going to be. Unfortunately, most Americans are tuned into, and that's what they believe patriotism is all about. If it's
you love God and hate queers, you better eat some Chick-fil-A right now. Just saying.
We need to build a 90-foot wall to the Mexico border.
It's funny. It's because I hate saying this, but I know gay people. I know a few of them, and they eat at Chick-fil-A, and they didn't care that the guy was Christian, and somehow he thought it was wrong, or that it was You know, I mean, here's the thing. It's just your opinion. Oh, you know, even if it's a rude opinion, you know, people in the chat, and that's, I mean, goes back to the chat room. People have rude opinions, or people don't understand the point that you're trying to make.
Truly, who gives a crap? Really? You know, who
I mean, I do care. I do care, but it's only because I think that if people, you know, that by and large probably agree with most of the things that I do, and I want more freedom, less tyranny, and I think that's what at the end of the day the show is about. Less doom. We really do want less doom and more light, more sanitizing of the dark crevices of Congress.
Gays eating at Chick-fil-A or not.
It just means that I'm not conveying my thoughts correctly, or I'm just trying to be provocative. And
here's what I think. Here's what I think. If you're gay, or if you are offended by the actions of Chick-fil-A, then you have the right to boycott them and not spend any of your hard-earned money there. But if you're the owners of Chick-fil-A and you don't want to serve whoever, maybe you don't want to serve Irishmen, I would boycott you because I'm Irish. Guess what? And I would not eat at your place. But if you want to, you know, it's your business. If you're not publicly traded, if you're not asking for the public's money in order to expand and grow and profit from, and you this is your baby, then do whatever you want to do. Who cares?
Well, yeah, and here's the thing. I mean, I think we get so offended by just people's personal opinions rather than people that are actually, you know, working in our own disinterest. I'm so upset about what this guy said at a you know, church group, or to, you know, in a newsletter to other ministers, or whatever the circumstances was. And it was just like, it was a perfect example of this selective outrage. I mean, when you look at the political correctness of what's happening in Ukraine, okay, we don't have boots on the ground. We have advisors. We have the FBI. We don't have U.S. troops. We don't have a ground war. We have, you know, kinetic energy. We're not going to launch an attack. This is going to be an advisory mission. You look at all the careful grooming of words that is used to try to describe these events, and you're like, well, what's really happening? You say people are apathetic. I don't think that people can really, you know, listen, or I think a lot of people don't care to keep up with enough of the vernacular to understand what the hell is happening. What are you dropping a bomb or not dropping a bomb?
Yeah, and that's complacency to a large part, because the truth is out there, right? I mean,
they're just changing the words and making it sound more kinder, gentler, friendlier.
Right. You have one, two, maybe three, if you're really in tune to political and geopolitical events, news outlets that you turn into. And they're all saying the same exact thing if they're establishment. And so it's apathy in a lot of cases where people, they can find out the truth of what's going on. In this example with Eastern Ukraine, the Eastern European situation in general, Europe in general, you could find out the truth. You could see who's responsible and profiteering.
Maybe. I mean, you know, here I'm looking at it.
Tune into Doomcast and find out what's going on.
I'm looking at it. I can't tell if those are Russian tanks or not. More to come on that. You know, who knows? I mean, that's the thing. I mean, so much of the reality that we have to analyze and dissect, we can only look at. I mean, here's the thing. I agree with
you. Go ahead.
The more that we know, the better that we can analyze the situation. Why am I skeptical? Because we've caught the Ukrainian government, the chocolate king, lying over and over and over again. And
but this is fun because usually I'm more pro Russia and you're more contrarian when it comes to their motivation. And now we're kind of the opposite here, to where I'm just saying, you know what? They have troops there, and I believe that they're there. I believe that they're going to continue to destabilize Eastern Ukraine. I believe they're going to open another front, and I believe this could turn into war.
I just don't think that Putin's that dumb. I don't know. I mean, it defies logic. If there are actually Russian troops on the ground, I wonder if that is something that he ordered, if this is something that's being completely staged to make him look like a stooge.
I think Putin, who is a student and his history is KGB, I think he has absolutely seen the advancement of the West enough. You know, when they're touching his border, I think he is willing to do. I think he's willing to do anything in order to slow this advance or to turn. In fact, maybe in his mind, it's not slowing the advance of the West. It's actually turning it and recapturing some of the glory days of the Soviet Union, where these satellite states like Ukraine would be, nothing more than a puppet government put in Kiev by Moscow rather than a puppet government put in Kiev by Washington, D.C.
It's going to be interesting.
Why not? We're doing it. We're doing it. Why not? I mean, what is our motivation? What is our motivation to spend $5 billion of our taxpayer dollars in order to topple a government that was elected by the people of Ukraine, in order to foment a civil war, in order to propagandize the evils of Putin and Russia? What is our motivation? Is it to spread freedom and democracy inside of Eastern Europe? I don't think so.
It's probably to isolate Russia. It's always been about Russia, hasn't it?
Russia.
So Zbigniew Brzezinski, they thinks about at night. How am I going to get the Ruskies? Oh, the Ruskies. Guy created. What?
Sorry. I'm 15 minutes from having to be in an airport to pick up the fine and lovely Doomer Carla. My name is Charlie McGrath. My website is wideawakenews.com. My co-founder, my friend, my co-host is Doug Owen. His website is blacklistednews.com. His website, if you want to contact him, Doug at blacklistednews.com. Mine is info@wideawakenews.com. Doug, tell them where else they can follow us.
Of course, on Twitter at Doomcast Show and at Doomcast.com. Till next time, everybody, take care.